Welcome, fans, to another episode of your favorite FCS betting show, One AA Parlays. I'm your host, Colby Peterson. With me this evening, talking a little bit of sports, FCS sports betting, the one, the only, the master, Montana Parlay. He's ready for cat grizz. Look at this, folks. He is ready for cat grizz.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. One of the biggest rivalries in the country. It's going down. Parlay, are you going to go to Missoula this year, or you staying?
Oh, I really want to go. I'll talk more about the one time I did go to Missoula for Cat Grizz, but unfortunately I've got some obligations here and won't be able to make it. But of course I will be watching. So
yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest. I have never been to Missoula because every time we play up there, it's like I don't want to go up there. I got no business up there. Well, before we get into all of that stuff, because we got a lot, man. There were a lot of interesting lines this week. We want to give a shout out to FCS Fans Nation, to the Fans Nation Network. Appreciate them for letting us do this show on their network. Chatting a little bit on their YouTube channel, on Facebook, and of course on Twitter. Make sure to follow them in all of those places. Helps them to grow the family. I feel like it's especially this week in the Facebook group. It's been there have been some quality memes. There's been a lot of cat grizz in there, but quality meme work in there. It's been fun. So if you're on Facebook and you want to get in there, go check out the FCS Fans Nation Facebook group. Of course, follow them on Twitter. Twitter is the place for sports, and then make sure to like and subscribe them on YouTube because there's all kinds of good shows. Not just this one, which is obviously a quality endeavor, if I say so myself, but lots of good content on their YouTube channel, so go check it out. All right, Parlay, let's talk a little bit about last week, man. I feel like I'm rubbing off on you. Like,
I'm stuck in a 2-2 slump here, and I think I'm in an analysis paralysis here. I should never listen to like the podcast before I make my picks because I've changed the pick because of that, and I like the under in the SIU NDSU game, which hit. And instead, I took SIU plus 7.5, and that wasn't even close.
Nope.
I can't blame anyone for UNI -5 except for whoever the hell was playing for UNI and coaching UNI, because I don't know what kind of egg they laid against Missouri State, a subpar football team, when UNI's heating up and looking decent. They laid a complete egg on the road. So that was a loser. UM -7, Montana -7, and Montana State -18.5 were the easiest no sweats. Like, that's been a reoccurring. I actually saw a stat today that the only games Montana and Montana State have lost in November in 8 years, it might go back further, have been to each other. So the Montana schools get hot when the weather gets cold in November. So this is all leading up to this, big game this weekend. So I went 2-2. What are you going to do? We're just slowly feeding the books their juice. Now, if you would have parlayed UM and MSU like I did, you actually come out ahead. So that's one way to make 2-2 work in your favor. Colby, to the winner.
Man, had a decent week, Bucked the trend, especially on some picks that I got chided for. Some people said that was a bad pick. Mercer -2.5 was one of those picks. Money in the bank. Got that one. SEMO Martin under at 61.5. Man, what is going on with SEMO? Like, they're falling apart, man. They're just falling apart. Because I went and saw Martin play against Tennessee State a little bit earlier this year in Martin, which is a great little town, by the way. And, man, their offense just didn't blow me away. It was kind of a back-and-forth game. It was a grind-them-out game. So looking at this one, like, okay, SEMO struggled, Martin struggled, or their offense just ain't that great, although I think they put up like 40-plus last weekend. Yeah, man, like, it just worked in my favor. That was a fairly comfortable under. And then Lafayette, I'm just going to keep riding that one till the wheels fall off, man. Lafayette has been money lately. Been liking that. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a single Lafayette snap this year because I just haven't. But, hey, I'll keep taking them. The only spot I got burned on was Monmouth. I was a little too high on them, and they got absolutely blasted by UNH. Like UNH came to play, and they just doused Monmouth. Like it was no shot. So, yeah, man. 3-1. I think this is my best week. I don't know. I'd have to go back through the annals of AA parlays here, but yeah, I think this is my best week. And so finally got me back over 500 this season. So I'm now at 16-15. If I got that right, Parlay still sitting at 20-11. It's a nice mark. Parlay's been hitting his, although a little bit slow. Like I said, I'm giving you some bad luck over here, I guess, Parlay.
I can't blame anyone else but myself. Yeah, and this week, I'll admit I'm going to be distracted. We're picking early. It's never a good idea to pick early, but we had to do what we had to do to get a Cat Grizz show out, a rivalry show. We're not the only rivalry game out there in the FCS. We'll talk more about that, but yeah, I've been watching the Cat Grizz lines, and I took a quick peek, and we'll get to the picks in a bit.
Yep.
But I just am reminiscing on going to the games. I've gone twice since moving out here, both times in Bozeman. Both times we've won. We've actually absolutely shellacked the Grizz.
So you're the good luck charm?
Some people might be saying that. But one thing that led me maybe not to go to Missoula this year is because the only time I went was in 2008. And that's known as the throwback jersey day for those Grizz fans. For me, I remember a couple things besides the shellacking, 35-3 to be exact. There was a little gambling moment in the stands. My brother and I, Big Sky Omai on Twitter, we were, of course, in a sea of Grizzly fans. And MSU's first drive that was worth the damn, they got down inside the 5. And on 4th and goal, the guys in front of us wanted to bet us on whether or not they'd go for it. And they turned around, and they'd had a few beers, and my brother was watching the field and the coaches in the sideline. And so he waited to make the bet until he saw what they were actually going to do. And then he took the free $20. So, the Cats might have lost that game by 32, but, my brother made $20 off a dumb Grizzly fan. So, there's winners and losers everywhere. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think either side's going to lose 35-3. But one thing that I looked at in that game, and I remember, and it just shows how crazy things can be in college football, is that, we have a far superior quarterback this year. 2 far superior quarterbacks to what we had in 08. But in 08, we lost by 32. We outgained the Grizz 294 to 283. Okay? We had half a yard more per play than the Grizz had. But the difference was we lost 3 fumbles, so we gave them excellent field position.
Yep.
They had a punt return, Mark Mariani, for a touchdown, and a long and an interception return for a touchdown. So, the punt return and the interception return aren't on the offense's stat sheet. But has there been a game in history of football where a team wins 35-3 and is outgained on offense? I'd be hard pressed to find that. So,
I don't know.
On paper, I think the Cats are the better team. I think the sports books show that. Is the line right now in Montana, where the Grizz often get a bigger handle, and I say that because their lines are more inflated compared to the national books each and every week than Bobcat games. So what that tells me is more people in Montana, or at least more money in Montana, is going on to the Grizzlies, because Sportsbet Montana has to inflate those lines to protect themselves. All right. So that's 3.5. Even the Bobcats are still favored, but it's 3.5. Right now, it looks like the line elsewhere in states where it's legal on other apps, it's going to be 6.5. So the Cats are favored on the road by 6.5. That means they're 11.5 to 12.5 points better on paper. But does that mean I think they're going to come out with an easy victory? Hell no. I think this game is a complete coin flip. When you're on the road, you're in that atmosphere. I mean, the Bobcats have already played in one atmosphere very similar in the Dyke House in Brookings, South Dakota. That was loud, although I had to chuckle when people were talking about the South Dakotans were talking about how loud it was, because I've been in loud. I've been in Wagriz. I've been Montana State. I don't know. Probably similar to how Bozeman gets. But nothing is quite like Wagriz as far as loud gets. And we had 7 false starts in Brookings. So hopefully that was a wake-up call for the left side of our offensive line, because there could have been 17 false starts called on our team that day. And those will kill drives. We could outgain, a team by 300 yards, and if we don't close out with touchdowns, we're not going to win the ball game. So I wish I could say, oh, we're going to gash them for 400 yards again. But, if we don't execute, or if we get cute on passing, like we did against Idaho in the first half, I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. I'm not going to take the easy way out. All the whining the Grizz fans have done about the polls, the 2 head national writers that have gotten, maybe the Grizz bullied them into it, but the 2 biggest, most well-known sports writers in the FCS have picked the Grizz to win this weekend. All right. So, we got sports writers on one hand picking the Grizz. We got the sports book on one hand picking the Bobcats. Me, who do I pick? Honestly, I like the Cats. I may or may not have already gotten money on -3.5. All right. That's where it's at in Montana. Will I place an emotional hedge bet at 6.5 if it's here or higher? If it gets to 7.5, you damn well better believe I'm betting the Grizz at that. Hope I don't hit it. But if I do, I hope we still win. So, yeah, I've got money on 3.5. I like the Cats 3.5. Give me the running team. Give me the proven 2 quarterbacks. And I like our defense. But, I think, can we give up a big play? I think so. But I think in a big game, when we're bringing the energy, when we've been practicing in warm weather all week, just don't give me the shit like, oh, cold weather don't matter, or, the traveling to this and that. It matters, all right? Think of how many times us armchair quarterbacks have showed up to work, have showed up to a date, and not brung our A game because of whatever stupid ass excuse. All right. We got 18 to 22-year-olds. Yeah, they're elite athletes, but they're still 18 to 22, maybe 23, 24 with the COVID years. If they're out practicing in 20 degrees, all right, after coming home from the California coast at 3 a.m, they're going to be tired. They're not going to have the same energy. And I'm referring, yes, to the Idaho game. And I don't want to make excuses, but that's the reality. All right. So we, as the Twitter folk, can say, oh, they're young fellas. They can come and bring 110% each and every game. That's what I'd do if I played, back when I was 12 years old on the playground for tossing the pigskin around. I never took a playoff. Well, whatever, these guys go through a lot throughout the season, but there's going to be no lack of energy. This is almost a game where you need to settle that down a little bit, because there's going to be so much adrenaline. And, it's going to come down to execution. Obviously, I want to see my team go for it on 4th down as many times as possible and plan for it. All right. Run the damn ball on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, throwing the passes when they least expect it. But know that if you're averaging 3.5 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry, you're going to get first downs every damn time. So that's what I want to see out of my Bobcats. I like them at -3.5 to cover the spread in Montana. Go Cats. That's kind of my Cat Grizz rant. I took it a lot longer than I thought, but hey, who can blame me?
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, especially like I agree with Patrick here in the comments talking about the run defense is going to be the key. If the Grizz are going to have a chance, they're going to have to figure out ways to slow down Chambers and Malott, because if they don't, I mean, I've seen that movie. I saw it twice last year. It's a long day for your team if they can't slow Malott down. You know, if he's running all over you, things just don't go well. So the Grizz have been elite at, defending the run, but like Patrick said earlier here in the comments on YouTube, they have had trouble containing running quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks. One thing I will say is, that didn't seem to be an issue against Portland State last week in Sachere. That's what Sachere does, although Sachere is far, I don't know, in some ways I feel like Sachere is more one-dimensional because he's going to run. Like, he's really not going to throw the ball. Portland State, it's averaging like 169 yards through the air this year. They're dead last in the Big Sky. So the Cats have a little bit more ability to throw the ball than that, so they will keep the Grizz more honest. But yeah, I think that it boils down to, like Patrick is saying here in the comments, it's run defense. That's what it is. Also, shout out to my guy Patrick. Had some memories for last week. Ogden smells. Hey, if you've been there, Ogden does smell. It smells like dog food. But I'm glad Vandals fan had some fun. Obviously, we were surprised to get that win. 2-0 against the state of Idaho this season. Love it. All right, Parlay. Anything else you wanted to? I guess I should go talk about my picks last week.
Sure.
Already did that. Okay, man.
Yeah. So on to the rest of my picks.
Yeah, let's go to yours.
I'll leave the Cat Grizz talk at that. Follow me on Twitter Saturday if I get a chance to tweet. I am watching the game with some friends. There's gonna be 3 children, 3 years and under. They're gonna learn some new words on Saturday. So no, 4 children. So I'm watching it with a friend out in the suburbs who's got a nice setup, and there's gonna be some children involved that will learn some new words, some Montana slang along the way. So pray for those kids, I guess. And just a resounding Bobcat victory. That'll solve a lot of issues. All right, on to the rest of the picks. Let's finish the regular season strong. Idaho, the other rivalry game out west. The Stripes are at the Vandals.
Yep.
I like in a bounce back game like that, and a rivalry game where things tighten up.
Yep.
I like the underplay, especially when it's posted at 61.5. You're looking at the Vandals' offense has kind of been a little so-so as of late. They haven't put up 30 plus in a while. Yeah. So I think that the D will definitely step up, but if the offense doesn't get to 30, I think they're going to win the game. I bet on that. So if they don't get to 30 and they win the game, that total ain't getting to 61.5. So let's take the under on that. And speaking over-unders in rivalry games, this one could be for a playoff spot. I don't know how they're going to handle Sac losing and UC Davis winning. That's tough because Sac has got the Stanford win, and the committee they can't help themselves when they see an FBS win. They just can't. So that's going to be an interesting situation if, Bobcat fans want Sac to win because they won at Sac and they need that for strength of schedule to get the seeding and blah, blah, blah. The Grizz, I don't know if they care because their destiny's in their own hands. They win, they get the 2 seed, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion.
Yep, you're right.
And they beat both teams, so it doesn't really matter to them. I think Davis has the edge here. They're on the upward swing. They're at home. They got knocked out of the playoffs last year by Sac. So Sac is looking like crap lately. They kept it close with Pauly. So I like over 51.5 in that game. That just seems too low for those 2 teams. It seems too low. I mean, that's 5 points lower than the Brawl total. So I like the over in that game. And on to an interesting prop. If speaking of emotional hedges, if you're a Cat fan who can't quite bring himself to betting, just a plus 3.5 in Montana for even odds, you want it a little juicier so you don't have to put too much money down on your hated rival. There's a prop where Bergen over 65 yards and the Grizz win is, was it plus two? I lost it. It's over plus 250. So you get 2.5 to 1. And I feel like if the Grizz do win, it's going to be some big plays, some plays that burn us, up the seam, because we haven't seen much of a passing attack yet. We've just, outside Idaho, and Idaho, when they needed it, they did it, although it took a perfect damn throw from McCoy to seal that game. I think it's a little bit of an emotional hedge, or if you're just a Grizz fan, I don't know if you hate watching me for the last 20 minutes, but if you're a Grizz fan and you like your team, Bergen 65 yards and a win seems like a slam dunk for you fellas, and that's over 2.5 to 1 on your money. So that about rounds it out. I was going to make an over-under pick on the Brawl. I've been bouncing back and forth between over and under all week, and I think I lean under there for whatever. It's probably the noise factor, but there hasn't been a game that has been over 56 points, which is the total is 56.5 in Missoula for the Brawl since 2004. Okay, so it's been 19 years since the Cats and Grizz in Missoula have combined for 56 or more points. It's happened a few times in Bozeman. The Bobcats almost did it by themselves last year. Yeah. But yeah, let's make it. Let's throw the pick out there. Under 56.5. I just think that the noise in Missoula, I know if Bobby's going to try to copy the Vandal playbook and control the clock, give his defense some rest, wear out the Bobcat defense, that was how the Vandals knocked us off. If the Grizz follow that formula at all, that under is going to be easy peasy. So that's it. Let's win them all minus that stupid Bergen pick. Grizz, that's my one gift to you is picking out that prop. Find a kiosk at the bar next to the Walmart where you pick up your Grizz gear this weekend and place a bet.
Oh, man, that was good. A nice parting shot there from Parlay. ESG, GCG, guys. Real ones know. Oh, man, Patrick in the comments here some more saying, Bobby's going to be conservative, especially if they got an early lead. So we'll see how that goes. Because I think you're right. If the Grizz win, they'll get the 2 seed, which is a huge deal for them, especially if they're trying to get to Frisco. So we'll see how it goes. Also got Ron in the comments here. Starting schedule only matters at the time you played them. I don't know. The committee has a lot to look at. They said that, they count ranked wins if you beat them ranked at the time, which is a little frustrating because I think that there are teams that beat Weber early in the season that get quote-unquote ranked wins. So Davis has a ranked win, but they probably didn't deserve it because Weber didn't deserve being a team that should have been ranked at that point, right? They were trending downward. I think the UNI win really kind of kept them afloat longer than it should have, but teams like Davis are going to get that ranked win at the time because both teams, because Weber was ranked, but we've seen this year, Wildcats they're not a ranked team, and they shouldn't be.
And it's human beings making picks that they're changing these qualifications as they go. So ultimately, we don't really know what affects their choices. Last year you can go watch my rant last year after we were picked 4th. I'll stop now. Colby, your picks, buddy.
All right, man. We can talk more Brawl, of course, but let's get on to some of mine. There was a lot. I was really surprised when we looked at lines getting ready for the show tonight. There was a lot of things that looked interesting. Not everything made the cut, but keep your eyes on the books this Saturday morning, folks, as you see those FCS lines come through. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, man. There was a lot. So I have quite a number of picks because there was a lot like, oh, I'll take that. Oh, I'll take that. But keep an eye peeled and see what actually ends up happening out there because there was a lot of stuff that looked interesting. So for me, the first one that looked interesting was the Danes, man. The Great Danes taking care of business. Albany is going to be a minus 5.5. Albany has been a great story this season, man. I mean, they're another team that have not watched a single snap this year because Flow Sports, but the Great Danes have been a good story, and this week they're going to be facing. I'm just going to ride them till the wheels fall off, right? They're facing Monmouth, and I'm pissed at Monmouth because they screwed me over last week. They did not show up at all against New Hampshire, so I'm betting against Monmouth this week against the team that I have liked, which is Albany. So I'm going to take the Danes to cover minus 5.5. We'll see how that goes, man. I'm just going to check. I think that game is also at home for the Danes as well. Let me check and make sure. I'm pretty sure it was. But, yeah, so a lot of things in their favor going into this one. So I'd say take the Danes if you get them 5.5 or even less than that. I mean, shoot, you're gonna have a great chance. Next up for me, keeping it in the CAA, going to take a look at Campbell. So Campbell has really underwhelmed, not just this year, but I think last year. They just haven't been up to. There's been a lot of hype around the humps, these great recruiting classes, blah 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 blah, right? And they just haven't been there. They just have not showed up. It's very, in my view, it's very reminiscent of like these NAU recruiting classes that come in, right? Where is NAU? They haven't even sniffed the playoffs, and I don't care if they have the number one recruiting class in the Big Sky. It doesn't seem to matter. And it feels like Campbell's kind of right there too, but they're playing lowly North Carolina A&T, and the Aggies have really, really struggled this year. And so the spread is minus 2.5. I think this game, let me just double check, but I was pretty sure this game is at A&T, so a little bit, it's a little bit of an advantage for the Aggies, but they've just been so bad, and it's such a small amount to cover that I look at that and go, I might put a half a unit on the humps and see what they do. So take a look at it, see what your book gives you, but minus 2.5, that was enough for me to go, yeah, I think I might do that. Now we're going to start talking Sky. I mean, there was a lot. I would feel like almost every Big Sky game this year or this week, there were a number of opportunities, whether that was this team was going to cover that team, overs and unders. There's a lot of good stuff I felt in the Big Sky this week, and one of those, namely, was Northern Arizona. So NAU is getting +3 this weekend. I like what they got going. They're playing Eastern. I think the game is on the turf. So it's NAU on the road. Take that for what you will. Obviously, if the game were in Flagstaff, definitely be taking NAU +3. But the thing that has me leaning more to the Jacks is they're coming in with the number 2 pass defense in the conference. We've seen that Eastern has been back to their old ways. They have had a pretty decent run game, or maybe that's just, recency bias, because when I watched the Eagles play the Wildcats, they ran all over them, which was not, I think, something that Weber State expected that day. Tuna had a day against the Wildcat defense. But NAU's been plucky. They've been able to keep things close. Could they beat the Eagles? Maybe. So NAU +3, worth a look. If it goes higher than that, I'd say it's worth even more of a look. And then I had to throw this in here, Parlay, and the number wasn't even there. The number was not even there. But whatever the Bill and Mary under is, dude, just take it. It's been so money this year that it's like, I don't even know what the number is right now, but I'm taking it. So whatever the under is for Bill and Mary, as soon as it pops up in my, I'm taking it, man. And they're playing Richmond this weekend. So Richmond needs this to get in the playoffs. They need it bad. But I think the game is at the Tribe, right? So I don't know, man. Like, Bill and Mary, they have a way of just bogging down offenses. So, hey, whatever the under is, take it. Just take it. Too easy. Wrapping this up with a couple of others, we're going to go to the Ivies. Harvard has been an interesting story this year. They've played well. They've only really had one stumble, and that was against Princeton early in the season. They had a struggle last week against Penn. I think 3 overtimes to get it done for them. But Penn is a good team, and Penn has beat the team that Harvard's going to face this weekend in New Haven. They're playing the hated rival. They're playing Yale in the game. So the way that Harvard played Penn and the fact that Penn beat Yale earlier in the season, I'll look at that and go, okay, yes, Harvard had the misstep against Princeton, but overall they've been a pretty good team, and they're getting plus 1.5 on the road. So I expect them to be Ivy League champs. I think they will be. If they win this game, they will be. And so with that on the line, especially the way that Yale beat them last year, I think that the Crimson remember that, and they're going to be looking to get the dub, especially what they played this year. And finally, we're on to Cat Grizz, man. Here we go. We're on. As an outside observer of Cat Grizz this year, I'm just hanging out, taking it easy, watching great football, excited to watch the game. And Kevin Marshall, nobody cares about Harvard. Hey, man, if it makes me money, I care. I care, man. So, but yeah, there we go. Patrick knows Harvard. Yeah. But Patrick's over here telling me Eastern's going to win at home. Hey, and that's fine. You know what? Because NAU is a +3, so the Eagles are more than welcome to win. Just
By 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2 is fine by me. But last one, we're talking Cat Grizz, man. The line that I saw from the book that we've got had at plus 6.5 in their building. And we've talked a lot already about the run game and how important that's going to be, that the Bobcats have a much better passing game than what we saw last week against Portland State. I mean, Patrick had some comments earlier in the YouTube chat about how Portland State played absolutely terribly. There were a lot of things that went wrong for them. It wasn't a game. I mean, that game was pretty much over by halftime. But, I mean, whoops, I got the wrong one here. This was your old one. This was the one I needed. plus 6.5. I look at that and go, man, I think I like it. I mean, Parlay hates it. But, hey, man, that doesn't mean that the Bobcats are gonna lose. All it means is that it's a little closer, And, hey, if it makes me money, I'll take it. But plus 6.5, if you can get that for the Grizz at Wagrizz in Cat Grizz game, I mean, I'll take it. So just see what your book gives you. I'm sure it's going to be all over the place. But, yeah, man. So that's what I got. Yeah. Parlay, anything else you want to add? I mean, now it's time for us to do our weekly parlay here. What do you want to go with here?
Oh, man, I don't know. I killed us last week. We were 2-1, and it was my pick that lost. It was a terrible pick. I thought the Penguins would show up. They did not. That was another one where I was on the under all week. Like, Penguins at home, South Dakota State's just going to kind of coast to a 14-point victory. No, they coasted to like a 40-point victory. So
yeah, they smashed them.
That was bad. Close. This week, man, I think I'm going to put the Idaho ISU under 61.5 as my contribution.
All right, we're going to do Idaho under. Let's see. Let me go back and see. It's 61.5, like you said. So that's going to be it. The other two games in the parlay, we didn't mention this earlier, but last week, like Parlay said, Youngstown State plus 16.5. That didn't hit. -7 did, though. That was fairly, like we said, we just got done talking about. That game was over before halftime. It was pretty easy money. And then the crowd pick of SUU -1, the Rev special, the Rev hits on SUU -1, made it happen. So we went 2 for 1 in the parlay. Have we hit a parlay this season?
We've hit one.
We've done one, yeah. Either, one of us is always getting it wrong. Either you're getting it wrong, I'm making a bad pick, whatever. So we're hoping that this week is the week that we can maybe get it wrapped in the final week of the regular season before playoffs show up. But for me, if I'm looking at the lines that I've picked, man, I like plus 6.5. If it's plus 6.5, shoot, mister. I like it.
I hope we lose another parlay.
Hey, like I said, it doesn't mean that the Cats are going to lose. It just means it's close. That's all. That's all that means. Third pick though, parlay. I'm gonna leave this one to you. What do you think? Or if we want to put it in the chat, we've got some folks.
My eye on the chat. No one's chiming in. I don't have any. There's some kind of crappy games in the SoCon. I don't know if Kev's chiming in on that. I think there might have been one good matchup. Otherwise, I'm looking at the that Davis. I think UC Davis. If no one in the chat has one, if our fans can't come up with a group parlay here, I think I'm going to go on Davis -1. I think Sac is just trending in the wrong direction.
Okay.
They haven't looked good. I think they had a little chemistry breakup in Missoula. They thought they were going to go in and give the Grizz a game. They almost got in a few fights. They came out and looked like shit. So I think they're done for the year. So I got UC Davis -1.
Yeah, I looked at that line too because I was like, man, it's close, and I agree that these two teams are going in opposite directions, but it was so close that I was like, 1 point. I don't know. I was staying away from that, but Parlay's a brave man. He's taking it. Oh, so I was actually going to say this, Patrick. I was like, whatever the Alabama chat, line is, I was actually going to say
7.
Alabama will cover, but Patrick's saying, hey, he's going down to Tuscaloosa, and they're going to cover. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Let's see.
NDSU UNI is one I was looking at. I think I was so burned by UNI.
Yeah.
I just couldn't put them in. But that line is too high, in my opinion, for them at home. They played tough in there, except when they played Weber State. So it was I thought it was 7.5 or higher at home. 7.5. So UNI is getting 7.5 at home against the Bison.
Yep.
And Bison are kind of playing for a potential seed. UNI is playing for their playoff lives. So it's a pretty big matchup there in the Valley.
Yeah. Maybe another one to watch on that over-under for that game from the lines we have set at 50.
Yeah,
decide.
Because NDSU's defense has been hit or miss this year.
Yeah.
UNI's offense has been very hit or miss. So that's one I guess bet the over, but I wouldn't bet the under. Don't feel great about the over.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, UNI's been they looked like they were hot, then they, lay an egg last week, and it's just like, man, I don't know what to think of these guys. So there you go. All right, Parlay, any parting thoughts before we wrap up this one for this week?
Go Cats. I mean, this is by far the biggest Cat Grizz game. I mean, 2011, we shouldn't have been number one. I mean, even though we were, I didn't have my hopes up too high. I didn't think we'd go that far in the playoffs. It's when we were getting our asses kicked by Sam Houston every year. It was at the beginning of right at the very, very beginning of the NDSU dynasty. So they weren't quite the team yet. But I just had no hopes. This year, it's like, I know we have the team to get to Frisco. But if we have to go through, if we get an 8 seed or a 5 seed, I don't know what we drop to if we lose. But if we win, I think everyone's saying we get at least a 3. And that is so huge to get at least a 3, because then you got a quarterfinal at home. You are on the opposite side of the Jackrabbits, who are the best team. Let's just face it, they're a notch above this year. Who knows if we get a rematch and we're healthy, and it's if we get to play in Frisco, and who knows what can happen. But I don't want to go there again in mid-December, okay? And I don't want to go on the road in the quarterfinals. So this game, and for the Grizz, the 2 seed is massive, because that guarantees them home field through the semifinal. And that, I read too that this was crazy, but it makes a lot of sense. The Cats and the Grizz have each only won one road playoff game. Grizz at JMU in 2008, and the Cats at Sam Houston in 2021.
Yeah, you guys exercised the demon,
yeah.
send them on their way.
2 years we got our asses kicked in the championship, both Montana teams, but hey, we made it there. And so those home games in Montana are huge, whether you're a Cat fan or a Grizz fan. So this game is got so much writing on it for so many reasons, and it's like we both have a shot at making it to Frisco if we win this game, and man, it's just this. I wish I was going to be there. It's going to be tough not to be. Tip of the cap to all the Cat fans making the trip. I hope a lot of Grizz fans sold their tickets. I think old Bear Tycoon canceled his plans after the NAU game. I hope a lot of other Grizz fans sold their tickets or listed them online. And I hope there's 25 to 40% Bobcat fans there in Missoula. That would be awesome.
I think that what was I going to say right there? You got me distracted by the Bear Tycoon thing. I was laughing. Yeah, man, I think that one thing we haven't mentioned here is that whoever wins this game is going to get the Big Sky auto bid. They will get to be outright conference champions, whoever wins here. So it's kind of weird because, you guys are going to have your massive trophy. Plus, our guy John Casper's going to be there handing them the conference championship trophy as well. And like you said, high seeding implications for whoever gets the dub. And very comfortable path to the semifinals, at least in either case. It obviously changes a little bit depending on how it goes, but a big game. Everybody in the FCS is going to be watching this game. I mean, this game is it. I think this is easily the biggest game of the week. So that's it, man. Let's give a shout out one more time to the FCS Fans Nation guys, the Fans Nation Network. Appreciate them for letting us do this show on their network on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure to go follow them, subscribe, hop in the Facebook group, all of those places. It's a good community to be a part of, and so we appreciate them for letting us do this. Parlay, you've already got your parting words in. You got one last one-liner you want to drop before we close it out? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
That's it. Go Cats.
Go Cats indeed. Well, we'll wrap it up like we always do and say AA parlays, bet the best, forget the rest. We'll see you guys on the other side.